Okay, so I do believe I said I was going to do some classic maps in this segment. The only unfortunate part with this is that I have to take the S off the end. That's just how bad this level was. It took me 6 attempts just to get a complete run, and by complete I mean I was actually able to beat the level. There were still a couple of areas that I missed though, and after recording that plus the 2 classic maps after it, I still had a 35-minute video after cutting out all the deaths and whatnot, and so I've taken those last 2 levels, I've rendered them as part 21, which will be going up not this Monday but next Monday. I'm actually I'll sort of announce that at the I'll cover that at the end of the video if I remember to, but this is just going to be a post commentary playthrough of this that I did after the fact. So I just basically played this and without having to worry about commentary or anything like that, and so this is probably the highest level of skill that I'm demonstrating in this game, because I don't have to worry about coming up with stupid and witty quips to everything. So you'll notice I waited until I opened this area up to get the Berserk pack, and it's because of these 3 Pinkies. There are a lot of Pinkies in this level, and because of the way that you have to fight them and the noticeable lack of room that you might sort of see here, they're not that easy to get rid of. So to actually fight those 3 Pinkies without using the Berserk pack is going to be pretty arse. I mean, that's how I died on my first attempt, and I knew straight up that, yeah, I needed that Berserk pack to get rid of those Pinkies. So I got rid of those. They would have been the hardest part of the level, regardless of whether there was a Baron or not. So instead I have to deal with these guys. You'll notice that that guy was not very far away from me when I dodged him, so that should give you a fair indication of just how little room you've got. This room in here is probably the most that you have in the entire level when it comes to fighting Pinkies, except for maybe one of the rooms later on. But it's very cramped hallways, so you have to make use of what little room you have. I do show a couple of examples later on in this level. It's also a lot easier if you're able to deal with these guys one at a time instead of having 2 of them charge at you. In this case, it's not really that difficult. I just have to get around, use the room that I have, and get him into an area that's a little bit more wide open so I can get around it to his backside and just kind of pump shells up his ass. So here I have to deal with 2 more, and this is the example of having to deal with them only one at a time. Although to me I still consider it a bit of a lucky shot that I was able to get rid of one of them, because there's this one, I hit him, he blows to pieces, and then I have to go around and dodge him and pump a couple rockets into him. It doesn't kill him though, because he turns around before the second rocket hits, and so it hits him in the face, so I have to do that. I get the glory kill in. I didn't actually pay much attention to my health, but I didn't get that much health from it anyway, so... And then, this is just waltzing around, picking up whatever ammo I can find. I think there was like a box of rockets somewhere. Yeah, there it is. I just grabbed the shells, grabbed the rockets. And then round here, there's one more that I have to deal with in this area before going into the next one. And it's just round here in this little secret compartment. This is probably the biggest example of making use of whatever room you've got, because I've got fuck all room to work with here. And so to get rid of this guy, I have to hug against this wall, and then I dodge him, because that, if I was sitting in the middle, I wouldn't have any room left or right to dodge him, and I would have copped a massive flogging, and probably would have died then. So that would have been very unfortunate. Yes, these classic maps do have auto maps. I kind of thought there might have been a secret here somewhere, so I brought it up there a little bit. So this next room has a fair amount of room in it. You can sort of dodge enemies, but the problem here is, yeah, the door closed on me right as I was about to back away from the Pinky, so I copped just about the full brunt of him. So now I'm on the retreat, having to deal with his crap. Here I'm just basically throwing the chain gun at his face, not doing much. He walks through there, which kind of surprised me a bit, because I remember killing a Pinky in one of the earlier attempts and he couldn't get through there. I guess it's a bit finicky, because if you can kind of get him caught on one of those small doorways, it's not very easy for him to get through. So that's a nice little thing that you can use to your advantage. Now this little, that weird little mechanical panel on the left will open up and reveal some lost souls once I'm done in this small passage. The plan for this was to just set one of them off and hope that the explosion will kill all the other ones. Unfortunately, it does not do that. Also, I did not ration out my health pickups very well there. I picked up all the smaller ones before grabbing the med kit. So, here's those lost souls I mentioned. They don't actually pose much of a threat, because as long as I'm just taking pot shots at them or using the plasma rifle there, they're not really that big of a deal to worry about. I would have liked for them to just explode all in one cluster, but unfortunately that's not happening. I think this area I get into another bit of a pickle. I found out when I was doing the underhauls level, one of the levels in the next segment, that the pistol is really good for getting rid of the possessed soldiers. A fully charged blast is enough to stagger them, so at least for the most part. So this is where I get myself into a bit of a sticky situation, because there's a lost soul that just doesn't want to fucking die. And then I also have to deal with the Pinky. I think there's another one there. But here, the Pinky just sort of gets caught up on here. Or that might be an earlier one. But yeah, I didn't do a very good job at dodging, and I should have just effected the glory kill there, but unfortunately that didn't happen. And that fireball hit me after the enemies died. That's why they didn't drop any health for me, which was a bit unfortunate. It was just a matter of maybe a tenth of a second difference. It sucks, but I kind of have to deal with it. Around here, just random imp. I usually try to remember about those little sneak attacks. I remember a fair few of them, and yes, I do have a chainsaw for this level. So I figured, I kept that in the back of my mind. I figured I might get some use out of that a little bit later, but in the meantime I have to deal with a couple more Pinkies here. Here I'm just not giving a shit about ammo here, and just trying to pump as much of it as I can into them before they get the hell out of there. Because if they get the hell out of there, I'm going to be in a real shit stain, because yeah, having to deal with multiple of them at the same time is not a very good thing to have happen. So I have to just throw whatever I can at these guys, hope to God that they die. That first one died right there, which I was a bit relieved about, because having to only deal with one of them is, I mean, it's not a walk in the park, but it sure as hell beats dealing with 2 or 3. So basically, I reckon there's another part where I could have been screwed over, because he just sort of stopped his charge, like, just in the middle of nowhere, basically. If he kept going, I reckon he probably would have hit me and I would have died from it, so I'm a bit thankful that sort of happened. I'm not entirely sure what causes that. Kind of forgot about the lost souls in here, though. I don't think there's any in the other side, but I guess just to have something guarding the ammo pickups. I've noticed that the box of rockets and the single rocket pickup both give the same amount of rockets, which is really weird. That random pause there was just me scratching an itch. So this area is now done and out of the way. I've grabbed pretty much as much as I possibly could. I could have picked those shells up, but whatever, I still have a shitload of them. The next area, which has the yellow key, and you have to go through all 3 of these areas to get the keys, because you need them all to beat the level. Basically, just threw a few rockets, got rid of all the enemies in here, and I think one of them managed to survive, and I just went around and blew his head off with the shotgun. There is a texture in here. I'm not entirely sure if I talked about this in my initial playthrough of Brutal Doom. But there's this one random texture on that wall, that weird red thing. I've never actually seen that in any other level, commercial level of Doom. It's very seldom used texture. I think this is the only time I'm pretty sure it's the only time I've ever seen it. I might have seen it in, like, maybe map packs or something like that, but this is one of the areas that I didn't explore in my initial completed run of this level. The reason for that is because as soon as we go in here, we have to deal with these guys, as well as the Pinky. And I lucked out and somehow managed to avoid that, and then managed to get enough ammo into him to stagger him there and kill him. And that's actually all I had to deal with here, thankfully. Although I do believe I'm going to get smacked in the face here with... Yeah, I don't know where the hell that came from. It looked like an invisible one. I had no idea what the hell happened. I'm not going to try to piece it together because I don't really care that much. I would have cared if I died, but you wouldn't have seen this run anyway if I did. Also, stupid screensaver. Come back on. Thank you. So that area has the yellow key, and you actually have to go and grab the yellow key in order to get out, because one side you can open normally, the other side you need the yellow key. I remember a level early on in TNT Evolution doing that. You have to go in with one key and then come out with after you've collected the other, because the door requires that key that you're going in there to get. That was probably one of the more interesting levels of that. Again, it's like really early on. I think it's like the 4th map of the level, so... 4th map of the level. Yay, 4th map of the WOD. So, miss the yellow key. When you get out of here, it triggers this thing. So, obviously the strategy here is to get rid of the lost souls first, because the imps are... In comparison, the imps aren't really that threatening, because I can just take their heads off with the charge blast of the pistol. Or at the very least stagger them, as I would have shown off in that one rune trial earlier. So, not really much of a threat to worry about in there. There's just that one random schmuck that I just got to get rid of. And then I believe the next room I visit is another bit of a sticky situation that I get myself into here. This here looks like it's the exit out of the level, because you can tell from the door and because there's just a room with nothing but a switch in, but it is in fact a trap. And there's a whole bunch of enemies down there, as well as a cacodemon, and I don't notice this until a bit later, but there is actually a soul sphere down there. And so I'm just sort of in here trying to take pot shots, trying to avoid as much damage as I can because I got bugger all health. So I'm basically just grabbing the pistol, charging up, but then I find out I actually can't open doors while I have a charge blast. That's very annoying. And then for some reason the possessed soldiers are just sort of nowhere to be seen, and then that's when the soul sphere catches my eye. At this point, I'm pretty much done with the level. I am fully confident to deal with anything, even... I'm fully confident to deal with the Baron later on. So, it's just a matter of scoping around the place, seeing if there's anything useful to pick up, and then just going in here and getting rid of these guys. I don't know if these are the same guys that just took a hike into this area to hide or whatever, but I don't know. I mean, they're enemies, I'll kill them anyway, so... That one enemy I killed with the chainsaw was the example of me keeping it in the back of my head, because I was running a bit low on, I think it was either chain gun or plasma rifle ammo. So I decided to get a bit of that ahead of fighting the Baron. So, going over here, there's one other area that I need to explore. This is... yeah, this is this room. This is the area of the level that we saw when we unlocked it in the Argent Tower. Not really that big of a deal, especially when I've got maximum rockets, so it's literally just a matter of launching the rockets, getting rid of the cacodemon, and then basically just pot-shotting the lost souls that are left, so... And here there's an suit of armor, which I didn't need because I had only taken that one hit and taken a chunk of armor off me, but I was still pretty damn confident of fighting the Baron, so... Here I'm backtracking on my way to the exit because I do have all 3 keys, and so I can just go straight to the exit. So I'm on my way back. There's another compartment later on down this hallway that opens, and I'm expecting the Baron to come out of there. And amazingly enough, it doesn't. There actually is no Baron in this level. I'm actually kind of thankful for that, but at the same time I would have liked to have had a fucking crack at him. That being said, I'm just sort of wandering around here wondering, you know, where the hell is he, but that's about all there is to it, so... That's the end of this week. I'm going to be taking a week off because I have work experience next week, so I'm not going to have the time to record any more segments of this until next week. That will be starting with the other couple of levels, and so I will see you for that.